On today's episode, I spoke with Eric Trinidad. Eric and I just met at the Tampa Open where we competed against each other. I won by armbar, and when I threw the submission, I heard Eric's arm pop right before he tapped, which got me worried. That same evening, I found Eric on Instagram and reached out to see how he was doing. The result is the recording of this episode. Eric is a blue belt at Ralph Gracie Academy in Port Orange, Florida. He's also blind. He partially lost his vision while doing a tour in Iraq after enlisting in the army after 9/11. He lost the rest of his vision a few years ago after his car got rear-ended at 100 miles per hour by a drug dealer in a police pursuit. We spoke about Eric's jiu-jitsu journey, resilience in the face of trauma, mental toughness, and finding purpose. Why does any of this matter? And more importantly, why should you listen? I personally find that life is a lottery, genetic and otherwise. While there are a lot of things we can control, not one of them is the hand you get dealt. Knowing how to play that hand is an art and a science. This conversation is about the art of it. It's about the subtle, unmeasurable small wins of proper decision making, character development, and gratitude that give your life meaning and purpose. It's a place where you don't need sight to see the magic. Eric, thank you for being here. Very good, very good. So you had a strategy going into the match we had?
Yeah, I mean, my strategy was kind of not to die, basically, and survive a little bit.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah. It was my first time doing featherweight, so,
Okay.
yeah, it was, everything was new to me. I usually when I started 2 years ago, I did, 181, however, for my height, guys were way taller than me, then I went down to 168.
Mm-hmm.
I still had the same problem. I did novice con at 168. I did pans at 168.
Mm-hmm.
However, the guys were more taller than me, way lengthier than me. So the professor and I spoke about it, and we decided to go to featherweight. So you were my first match at featherweight. So I like it. I like it. I like how I perform at that weight. Um, my strength didn't get compromised or my speed. So you'd be seeing me more on the mats at that division from now on.
That's great. Yeah, I find that a lot of people at featherweight actually go down to featherweight rather than go up from like
Yeah,
Rooster, for example. Because
yeah.
I just spoke to a guy I went with at Pans, and he also went down. I think he was at also like you. He was at 180,
Yeah.
and then he went down to 168, and then he went down to 154.
Okay. I
So
mean,
it's
give
it's,
it.
it's common.
Yeah, guys are height. It's more beneficial on the lighter side because some people who are 168, 181, they walk around already at that weight. You know, and given our age, some people just after high school or after college, some of us don't continue with the fitness lifestyle. We have families, careers. Just life happens. And so it's really interesting. I started jiu-jitsu when I was 40, no, or
Hmm.
41, 41. Yeah, 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and prior to that, I powerlifted for 8 years,
Hmm.
and then prior to that, did some CrossFit and in the military for 8 years. So
Okay.
I always like working out and competing at any level. This is a whole different animal, and that's why I love it so much because and powerlifting when you compete, you put your openers out there. I'm gonna open when whatever weight you want to do,
Hmm.
and depending how you open, you can adjust the rest of your lifts. And jiu-jitsu, you can't do that. You go in the mat and you don't know what the opponent's gonna do. So it's a constant change every single time. So that's why I love it so much. It's just really challenging and every single day is something different.
What made you start in jiu-jitsu? Because it sounds like you were doing other things again, powerlifting and
Yeah.
CrossFit, and generally CrossFitters don't make it out here.
Yeah, you're right. In my case was after I lost my vision. I will go back a little bit further. Um, I had an accident back in 2004 when I was serving in Iraq. I had
Mm,
uh, a head injury which affected my retina and my optic nerve, which throughout the years it got worse and worse. However, in 2020, when I was leaving work, going to my house. Um, a gentleman, a person who was fleeing from a bad drug deal, rear-ended me. I was doing 30 miles per hour. He was doing 110,
mm.
something like that. Uh, Gratefully, I didn't get any new injuries. However, whatever I had already going on with my vision, it got accelerated. So I lost my peripherals. So I only can see like this much.
So you can still see right now, just not like the majority of the vision is just not there.
Yeah. Like for example, when you and I rolled, all I can see is your face.
Mm,
I don't see your torso, I don't see your hands, everything is by
mm-hmm,
feel. So I just see your face.
mm-hmm,
Um, so what made me go into jiu-jitsu was I was having a hard time finding something to do because I had to relearn everything. I can't drive anymore. I depend on a blind stick. So my independency took a toll, and so my wife and I, going through the whole process of relearning a lot of things, being at my age and being the oldest of my family, I've always was the person people depended on. And now this happened, and I was the person who I depended on people. So I wanted to do something that I felt like it was mine. And
mm-hmm,
I tried a lot of things. I play golf. I love golf. But it was something that if I didn't do it, I didn't mind missing it. And one day my wife said, I was having a really hard time with everything. It's very easy to find something that works for you. So I was wanting to do jiu-jitsu right after the army, but just, with going to school and career, it was kind of hard. And up in Connecticut, it was really expensive. It was like, but back in the day, it was like $300 a month
mm,
for twice a week. And I was like, that's too much money. And so I just left it in the back burner. And one night, um, I Googled Jiu-Jitsu academies near me, and I found Ralph Gracie Academy in Port Orange under Professor Calixto's mentorship. And when I went there, I was really nervous because I never done this before, and also I'm visually impaired, so I didn't know what to expect.
mm-hmm.
And so when I went there, I was just treated like just anybody else. And the camaraderie of it is something that I missed being in the army. As you know, you also participate yourself. Um, the family environment and the team environment really got to me, and I decided to do this. Taking it more serious, so I decided to compete, and and 2 years later, I'm here, and I'm grateful the fact that I found this because not only it helped me physically, but mentally it has done a huge, huge benefit to me into my life.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting path to it because I think everybody that I talk to that started jujitsu has something similar where something happens, whether it's a life event, whether it's an injury, whether it's something catastrophic to some degree, and people just they look for something, some outlet that would allow their mind kind of to go away from the trauma and the problems and sort of
Yeah,
focus on the immediacy of the role or in the immediacy of what jiu-jitsu provides, and also creates kind of this tight-knit community of people who come from all kinds of backgrounds that
yes, sir.
potentially have trauma, where people like understand each other's problems,
Mhm.
and
It,
that's
it,
exactly
it,
what you're talking about.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing, like you said, when you go into the academy everybody has a different background, different careers, different upbringing, different cultures. However, when you're in the mats, all you have to focus and all you need to focus on is on your roles, on your
Yeah.
drills. And what really made me passionate about this is that when I'm the hour or hour and a half, whatever time I'm there in the mats, um, it obligates me to just to focus on what I'm doing, not about the bills or my appointments or what happened yesterday. I can't afford to do that because if I do, then I either get submitted or swept or something else.
Choked or something, right?
Yeah, so it sounds kind of cliche, but it's a powerful thing. The fact that it allows you to just to decompress. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life that day. To the point that my wife says sometimes, "Eric, I'm having a bad day. Get in the car. I'm gonna drop you off at the academy," and she knows me when I come back, I'm in a better mood. Um,
Yeah.
so something like that, it's really great. To the point that even my family members who don't practice jiu-jitsu are so supportive of it because they see how much beneficial it is to me. People who know my background and know what I've been through and see me today, that's why they always ask me questions. How you doing so far? I even friends who I start doing it just because of the fact that they see me doing it.
Hmm.
And that friends from other states or other countries that I know from my childhood. Hey, I started jujitsu. I kind of motivated me doing these things, and that for me is great. It's amazing because I know how much it has helped me and continues helping me. So the fact that I can spread that kind of message to other people is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you necessarily feel it, but I think when people look at you go to jujitsu and roll and you have division problems, like you're an inspiration
Oh,
because
thank you.
it's it's one thing when you sort of have internal issues you're grappling with, whether it's depression or anxiety or other things that's like invisible essentially.
Mhm.
And it's something else when you actually see somebody with like an actual impediment and they're out there rolling and they're out there competing and they're out there basically telling everybody else like, hey, come on in guys, the water's
Yeah,
warm.
yeah. It is. I'll be honest with you. The first time I competed was in Orlando, and so I was two straight white belt, and I was really nervous because first of all, I didn't know. I can't see well, so I didn't know how wide was the everything was. Like the hallway when you go in between the mats when you walk in. I didn't know how narrow it was. I didn't know how well how I didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, you and I competed together. Usually, I'm the only visually impaired person sometimes in the whole building. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like stick out like a sore thumb most of the time, because it's kind of hard to miss me. And there are many times in the bullpen, I'm just there, just waiting for my opponent or waiting what happens, and even though I can't see well, but I can feel sometimes people just looking at me, or sometimes hey, you need anything, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that the people that despite that I might have a quote unquote disability or some challenges, I'm treated the same, and that's what I love about it because I don't want any pity or like hey I just want to be treated the same, and I get that. I get that you just do every single time. When I roll with people, I love the fact that they don't hold back, and that's what I want. I don't want that just because this was going on. It happens sometimes. People don't understand how disability works sometimes, and they think that somebody who's disabled immediately they think they're weak or they're fragile,
Right.
which is it's society how they works. So
Right.
I really can't change how people think. However, in jiu-jitsu, I don't get that. I don't get that, and that's why I love it so much. And I have friends of mine who are service members who have more severe injuries than I do. I have friends of mine who are. I had a friend of mine who's triple amputee, and he's
Mm-hmm.
currently a second degree purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
I got a friend of mine who's a single amputee and just got his purple belt. Um, and so on and so on. I had also a partner of mine who had a severe head injury, so he had a stroke. He's 26 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
his left side of his body doesn't function. That dude can roll really well. Um, so when I see those things, it motivates me to keep on going every single day. Like that's all I do between the podcast that I have and my family, and I have a trifecta: family, podcast, and jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
That's what I do, and I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my perspective, it's like I'm gonna give it my all, regardless when I'm competing, regardless of who it is, because it's not just for me; it's for you. It's like if
Hmm.
I don't give you everything I got, I'm actually taking away your ability to get better, also.
Yes, sir.
So I think people understand the fact that you know pity, no pity, whatever. It's like you're going in and it's a fight, and he's there, he signed up. So somebody texted me afterwards, and they're like, oh, like you beat a blind guy, and I was like, I don't care if it's like a grandma in the divisions, like I'm fucking going for it.
Yeah,
It's like you're signing up for the division, and you're essentially you're just another competitor in that same division.
yeah,
And if I don't give it my all, then again, I'm taking away your ability to get better and to
yes,
learn,
sir.
and to feel that you're essentially on the same level, because you are a blue belt, and so it's like you rolled like a blue belt. There's nothing that
Thank
I
you.
felt that was inferior in any way.
I appreciate it. No, I always give it my all, because I never, for me it'll be kind of disrespectful if I went there and just like winged it because the fact I didn't feel like doing it or whatever. Because I always tell people that are going up, when you compete, it's where you know what to work on. The more you compete, the better you have a better understanding when you go back to
Hmm.
the lab. Well, I gotta work on this. I gotta work on that. Because when you roll at your academy, you already work with your teammates, so you know how each person rolls a little bit here and there. Doesn't matter the
Yep.
belt. No, so you train them every day. But when you and I go on the mats, we don't know each other. We don't train with each other. So it'll behoove you to not to take that serious, because if not, then um, then you get then it won't be as a good experience as it should be. you know,
Yeah.
and and my intentions and my plans are to do this until until I'm 90. And every single moment that I get to do this, I try my all because I want to do better. And not only that, I want my opponent to get the best version of me. That way next time we go again, you get even a better version of me, and so on and so on. So it's a revolving door.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing here is, I don't know if it's the same for you or not, but anytime you have some form of whether it's an injury or disability, you actually end up becoming a better grappler to some degree, because you end up working around it. So it's like a couple of years ago, I torn my meniscus in my knee, and that forced me to change my entire game. But now I'm doing things that I didn't actually do before, because I was kind of forced to roll around that knee injury. And so now I'm playing like
Yeah,
lasso on the other side. Now I'm doing like half guard on the other side, and people aren't expecting it. So I've
yeah.
actually found a way to like use that to my advantage to be able to do things that other people aren't good at.
No, and I 100% agree with you. Besides my visions, I had other vision problems from issues from the military, and there are times that I'm 43, so I'm not 18 anymore. So I'm
Hmm.
so when you're sore, but it obligates you to like you said, okay, so if my knee hurts today, my right knee, let me just work on my left side. Because it's common sense. We have a dominant side anyway that we tend to favor
Hmm.
all the time. Um, but if you're well versed in both sides, it makes you a better practitioner. And I think that's the beauty of it, of jiu-jitsu, that every single thing that you do, it helps you evolve. I mean, if you put in the work for it, it helps you evolve a better practitioner in the long run. And and not only that, what I love about it is the fact that, like, people out there who will be watching this episode eventually, is that you and I just competed Saturday, and now we're just here talking like, just two new friends. And that's the beauty of what I like about this. So I tell people is that there's a level of maturity to do what we do. And then after the match, is give us each other a hug. Hey, you want to go for a beer? You want to have some lunch? After we try to choke each other out in the match, and it takes a really uh, different kind of person a whole level of maturity to be able to do these things. A lot of people can't do this. Professor, when I went to my academy one day, and he had on the mat, on the bench in the back of the room, it says, "The mats don't lie." And
Mm-hmm.
at the moment, I didn't realize what it meant. And then more I kept on going, I realized is that when you go on the mat, the real you comes out. So if you're a hothead, if you're not patient, if whatever it is, the mat will show that. And so, and as there's a lot of good people in jiu-jitsu, a lot of good people, and that's why I like this sport. That's why I'm a big promoter of it, because in every single sport you have your bad apples. That's how humankind is.
Mm-hmm.
However, in this sport, it's more good than bad, and that's why I like it. Yeah, we have egos because you're dealing with human beings. You can't avoid that. However, it's really rare that you run into that kind of problems in the kind of sport, and that's why I like it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's
Yeah,
definitely true that the maths don't lie. And I think that you can even take that further into saying conflict doesn't lie, because in conflict you realize, I mean, you've done army, you've done deployments, and so you know that in good situations everybody is obviously a friend and cool, but like under pressure you tend to see who the real friends are.
yeah,
And so when even when you're rich everybody's your friend, but like you want to see who your friends are when you're poor, right?
yeah.
And so
That's
that's
right.
the same situation with the mats. Like you want to see like when I roll at the gym, I want to be a good partner. I don't want to just win. Like I have different meanings of what a win is to me.
Of
And it's
course, of
not and
course.
it's not beating the fuck out of people. It's actually
No,
being a good partner and making
that's
sure we
right.
both learn.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly right.
No, I'm the same way. Like when I'm competing, some people some friends of mine who are not practitioners, it's like, man, how come you're like after that you're happy that no, don't get me wrong. If I lose or win, if I lose, I always want to win. But if I lose, I'll take a minute or two to process what happened, and after that, I go eat and then I go back and I say what I need to work on, because this is not a short term journey. This is something I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and
Yeah.
not only that, I'll be doing it for 2 years. So I really can't. Um, I know as human beings, we always want to win and always want to do the best, and that's human nature. However, this had taught me to be grateful for every single win. For example, past Saturday, I haven't been 152 since I was in seventh grade.
Mm,
It's been almost like 25 plus years that I was in that weight class. So for me, that was a huge victory that I was able to go down to that weight, and not only that, to be able to maintain that weight and perform at that weight. So for me, it was a big deal. And also, like I mentioned before, 9 out of 10 times, I'm the only visually impaired person there, and
mm-hmm.
and I get comments sometimes, like I have points before they kind of like feel that they want to like, are you okay? And like I can understand what some people trying to be nice or be cordial, or some people trying to be like too nice because they think that my disability is something that is
Mm-hmm.
like and be careful with. Look, if something's bothering me, I'll let you know. But I'm a kind of person that I always push myself no matter what. And people who know me or close to me, that's the kind of man I am. I don't let these things stop me or define me. That's what I do. What I do, and the one thing that might say that I have you here on the podcast, that you're a true gentleman on the mats, and you don't get that often. So with that, I want to thank you. It was a really great match. I'm pretty sure we'll see each other again in many competitions coming up. Um, and That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of jiu-jitsu is that it's a art. It's called a gentle art, but it's not really gentle. If you know what I'm saying. It takes a lot of mental strength and capacity
Mm-hmm.
to do what I do. Sorry, do what we do. And again, I'm just pretty grateful for the fact that I'm able to say that I practice this kind of art.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It sounds like you got your blue belt really quick though. Like you're only 2 years in, huh?
Yeah, I got my first stripe like 2 months ago.
Oh,
Um,
congrats.
but I go every day. I go at least 4 or 5 times a week. I'm retired. I retired when I was 39.
Mm.
due to the accident. Gratefully, I was able to retire because I was in I a military pension and my job, so I was able gratefully to due to this all turmoil, I was able to afford to do that, and which was great because now I focus on myself. And my people think that this might be a big issue because oh wow, you can't do a lot of things, but um, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. I could have been, and I would have been here. That the accident was a really catastrophic one. I was in the ICU for like 3 or 4 days,
Hmm.
and it happened during COVID. So my wife was not able to come and visit me while I was in the ICU.
Hmm.
So this whole process from losing my vision to becoming as a practitioner has been a hell of a journey, to say the least. Um, I have the great thing about it is I met a lot of great people, and through all this great adventure that I call jiu-jitsu, and a lot of good friends too, like solid friends, and some people think that you gotta know people for many years to become really good friends, and
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
I never really same way. I don't believe that. When I meet somebody, and I can feel their energy, feel the character, how they treat their family, how they treat their friends. That's for me qualities of a good friend. I don't need to known you for a decade to make a good judgment of who you are. And in jiu-jitsu, you get that. You meet somebody in a competition, and next thing you know, you're chatting with some people on social media, and then after that, you keep on training with them, and you become a really good friends. And you don't get that in some sports. Usually you don't get that, and that's why jiu-jitsu I think is growing so much. Um, at the pace that it's going to because it promotes a lot of family environment, a lot of camaraderie that some sports unfortunately don't offer.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I think a lot of it comes from just the types of people that get attracted to the sport
Yes, sir.
because they understand sort of the difficulties that everybody else in there is also dealing with because they themselves are dealing with something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you did a survey in your academy, you'll see a lot a lot in common. It can be the trauma will be different sources or whatever, but the way we deal with things is really similar. And I think that's the beauty of it. And it's something really beautiful. The fact that for that hour you're together there, or that day that you're together competing, nothing else matters. It's just what's going on in the match and the support that you get from the academy or people that you don't know. Uh, people that were separate. You and I were competing. The energy around us it was really was great. It was really
Yeah,
great, and you don't get and that's why I do what I do. Is that win or lose, it's the camaraderie that I get, the people that I meet, the experience that I gain, and and the growth that I am able to achieve through all these competitions and training that I get. So that's something that I would not. I wish I'd done it sooner in my life. However, I believe that everything happens when it's supposed to be happening. Because if I'd done this probably years ago, I wouldn't have been able to appreciate it the way I do today, and that's why I'm really happy for it.
yeah, definitely possible. Now, you come from the East Coast or you grew up in Florida?
No, I grew up in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
I'm in Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. Um, When I turned 2 years old, my parents went to upstate New York, and, when I turned 8, we returned back to the island. My 2 younger brothers were born in Puerto in the States, and then from 8 to when I was turned 20, I
Hmm.
wa I was in Puerto Rico. When 9/11 happened, my cousin, Michael Trinidad was a victim due to the Twin Towers attacks. And that made me join the army and volunteered to go to Iraq. My first tour, 2004, because I just wanted to. At the time, I was really angry. What's going on with what happened to my cousin? So I wanted to do my part. So I ended up being in Iraq from in August of '04. I got extended up to November of '05. So I was there year and a half in Iraq. Um, and my first tour, I got wounded twice. got shot in the arm, blown up several times. I was a combat engineer in the Army, which I dealt with explosives. I dealt with clearing the roads for IEDs, taking disabling IEDs, helping
Hmm.
EOD with road clearance. And then after that, and then in Connecticut, after got out of the Army, went to the reserve, staying in Connecticut, and after that, after my first divorce, I met my wonderful wife, Ariana, in Connecticut, and I am where I am today because of her.
Hmm.
She was the one who pushed me after I finished grad school to compete in powerlifting, and then from there, she's also a competitor herself. She's a semi-pro CrossFitter. She got drafted by Atlanta Wilds in the Great League. Actually, they won the championship last week.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah, yeah, she's a badass, and she's the one who I am who I am today because her unconditional support and always being on my ass about not quitting and not being conformed well what I have, and
Hmm.
so I ended up in Florida. Once she got a job, she's a forensic investigator. So she
Forensic investigator.
yes sir,
Good for
yeah,
her. That's
yes,
awesome.
yeah. So we ended up in Florida. And I'm in New Smyrna Beach as we speak. So I like Florida a lot. It's a lot of veteran benefits here, and also it's close to Puerto Rico, so I can just fly in whenever I want.
Yeah, nonstop,
And
baby.
yeah, so yeah, God put me here, and I'm grateful where I'm at, and meeting great people like you and other people else in my academy.
Yeah, that's a great story. I remember when 9/11 happened, we were literally driving to college. I was at DePaul in Chicago. I grew up in Chicago,
Okay.
and so we were like on the way, and me and a buddy were like running late, and we're like on the shoulder trying to pass cars because there's all this traffic downtown. And so when we
Yeah.
got there, they're like, "Oh, everything's closed because this happened." And we're like, "What? What is this?"
Yeah. It was
And like
unheard of.
nobody knew, it was like
No.
it was pretty crazy. But everybody remembers where they were at the time that they found out. So I was like literally on the way to the school because we were running late for class.
Yeah, and I was I was like 20, I was something like that, 19,
21, 22,
yeah,
maybe
something
something like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
And I like for me, I just got out of work. I was working at a gas station in the third shift, and I remember my little brother Elvin waking me up because hey, something going on in the news. And then next thing I know, um my grandmother called me. My mother lived in front of us, and I went across the street because we had no phone in my house. We didn't grow up. We didn't have so much money to have a phone, so my grandma was the one that had the phone. I had to cross the street, and we found out that Michael had passed away.
Was
Um,
he in the towers?
yes,
Is that
sir.
what? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was from 90 something floor. I don't
Mm.
remember right now. Um, but that was even though I met him like I was a little kid, but he was my father's first cousin. It was a big blow because it was a family member who passed away due to this horrible tragedy, and that, like I said, it prompted me to serve in the military, and something that I'm extremely proud of what I did, and but it was a life changer for sure. I didn't realize that would change my life completely. Not, but at that point, I will tell somebody the other day that I spent almost like my entire life in Puerto Rico. So when I joined boot camp, that was the first time I was on a plane since I was 8 years old.
Mm.
So I landed in Fort Leonard, Missouri, and it was cold as fuck.
This was like
It,
winter or fall.
yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
winter. It was Halloween, and it was raining. I never forget that. And I went from the 70 something, 80 something
Yeah.
degrees to like it was like 20 degrees, and it was raining. And I'm like only guy with a tan. And
Hmm.
but it was a great experience. It shaped me the man that I am today. Um, and I if I had to do it again, I will. Everything I have today, from everything, is due to my service, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, that's great. My sister's in the army. She's a
Oh,
recruiter right now. She's a lifer. So she went in when she was like 19, I want to say, 20,
oh
something like
wow.
that.
Wow.
And she's basically been ever since. She was military police, lived in Kentucky over there, Fort
For Campbell?
Bragg, Fort Campbell, yeah.
For Campbell, yeah.
And then she became a recruiter, and then she married another recruiter, and so now they're in Wichita. And they're
Oh,
both
okay.
in the army still. So she did
Think,
CID for a while, and
okay.
did like criminal investigations on the
Mhm.
base, and then now they're
Yeah,
just chilling, collecting their military benefits at like 40 years old, and everybody's
yeah.
happy.
Yeah, that's what helped me out when I had my accident. I was able to having that backup. I was able to afford it to retire. So which I'm grateful because if I didn't join the army and that would happen to me, I wouldn't be able to do what I do today. Um, but it's funny because now jiu-jitsu is a big thing in the military now.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like you see it's back then they had combatives, but not something really advanced. But now that's actually part of the training, which is I love that because jiu-jitsu is something as you know is really practical, and anybody can do it if they really put the mind into it, big or small. You know, that's the whole point of jiu-jitsu is that it doesn't matter your size. You can always doesn't matter the opponent if you know what you're doing. And look at the founders of jiu-jitsu. They weren't big men.
Right.
You
Well,
know.
In Florida they are. Everybody here is big, dude. I get
Yes.
crushed all the time.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't do open weight.
Yeah, I know.
That's why I don't do open weight. People ask me, they're like, no, no, man, like no, they're the big guys here in Florida, and I don't want to get injured or break anything by mistake. So I'll stay in the further weight. I'm good here.
Yeah, same, same. Now you also run a podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
What is it
Yes, sir.
about?
Well, it's called Beyond Capable. The reason why I started doing this, was also one of my wife's. Uh, I was a therapist for almost like for 12 years or more. I worked for the VA for benefits, and then I went to school for social work, and I became a clinician at the VA. Um, and throughout my journey of being a veteran, and met a lot of great people who inspired me to do great things, and I always push myself. Once my accident happened, I wanted to do something to help people, but I didn't want to continue doing what I did before. And my wife said, "Aaron, well, you talk a lot, so might as well why do a podcast?" So I was like, "Well, good point. I do talk a lot," and I want to do a podcast or have a platform where people see because anybody can tell you a story. I can sit here and tell you a bunch of stories about the military, and which is great, but
Mm-hmm.
we want to talk about the mindset during your process. Things that you don't tell anybody. The things that when you're having a bad day, you're in your car, you're driving back home, conversations that you have only with yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
so the premise of the podcast is to show other people that no matter what you're going through, there's somebody out there, one who could be in a worse situation or similar situation. But not only that is that not to quit no matter what was going on. We're always beyond. We are kind of cliche. We always can go further than we think that we can. Sometimes the mental game is the first thing that we get defeated. Sometimes it's not the physical part. And so I wanted to be beyond capable, so motivate other people, not only my story, but for other people's stories to no matter their background, their creed, gender, beliefs, is that people can identify with the people that I bring on the podcast. That what that person has a similar story that I do. So you know what I can do this. I can push myself forward no matter what was going on, and it's how Beyond Capable was born. We have kind of three segments in the podcast where we have inspiring stories where I bring people and they share the stories of resiliency and perseverance. I have something which is called Chasing Echoes, where another veteran and I share pick a topic, and we talk about the topic, and then we have educational part where I bring experts in their field, and they talk and they kind of share their expertise to help other people just be more resilient in life. The baseline of all this is to help people move forward no matter what was going on in their lives. Is to
Mm-hmm.
show them is that no matter what's going on, it's always a light in the tunnel. And there's a lot of people out there who have kind of similar topic, but I work on more on the mindset of the person, not the story.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the podcast is basically targets at.
Are there things you learned since starting the podcast that you changed your mind about?
Yes, yes. Not complain too much. Not to be more grateful every single day. I learned also to simplify sometimes my problems.
Hmm.
Sometimes we get in our heads and we think it's the worst thing in the moment and nothing can fix it or there's no hope.
Seems
And
unsolvable, right?
correct. Uh, and if you really simplify it of things, and if you go down to the nitty-gritty of things, it's like, no, you know what? I can either deal with it or not deal with it, or I realize the fact that I'm still breathing. I'm still every single day that I wake up is a blessing. The fact that I'm here right now with you talking, um, is a huge blessing for me because I would not be able to wake up this morning, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that I did, I should be grateful for those things. Sometimes I used to get distracted, um, on things that I shouldn't be focusing on my pain or the fact that today, my eyes are acted up because sometimes, one thing that I forgot to mention is that my eyes, when they get too worked up, they shut off. Like they'll, like a TV, you just turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
That will happen to me sometimes. And when that happens, back in the day, I mean, before I would get depressed because I'm like, this isn't my life and whatever. And then when I realized, it's only a temporary thing, yes, it sucks. I had sitting here saying it's like, oh my God, I'm happy for it.
Right.
But however, I don't dwell on it. That's one thing I have learned to be able to progress, not to dwell on the things that I shouldn't be dwelling on. But that's a dwell period. Because the more I dwell, it's time that I'm wasting that I can be laughing, I can be happy, I can be joining with my wife. Yeah, I'll process my problems because I can't ignore them. But I've been working. I'm really getting better at not dwelling on the things that I can't control.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control the fact that I can't see, but I can deal with it. I can make the best out of it, and that's something that has helped me grow through the people that I talked to the podcast. And even when just watching the episode that I recorded before, I'll watch them again, and and um and I learn a lot from it. And that's what I love about it because they're not only sharing the stories with other people, but I'm growing as I do it.
Yeah, it's for yourself as well. Yeah, I find that one thing that I learned is you have to play the cards that you're dealt. It's like some of it is a genetic lottery because you can't control where you're born, but also
Mhm.
some of it is an environmental lottery because life just throws certain things at you, and it's like I wish it would have been done different, but like it wasn't, man. That's what
Yeah.
happened, and that's what it is. And so now you got to
Hmm.
play this hand. And
Correct.
so what you do is you play the best hand you can in the best situation, that's out there.
Yeah, and it's all we can do because I I learned that the more I dwell on it, it's time that I'm wasting. It's time that I can't find a solution or the fact that if I'm dwelling the fact that today I had a bad day, my wife comes from work, in a shitty mood. I can't enjoy my wife. I haven't seen all day. I can't enjoy my animals because they want to be playing with me. Some moments the moments that I can't go back in time and get them.
Hmm.
And things that I learned about not only in the military and having so many close calls, um, and in my accident is that life is really short.
Hmm.
And like we were talking this before we got in here, we're in our 40s. You know, we're almost half a century old.
Quarter.
Y-
Let's call it a
yeah.
quarter.
Okay. And the thing is that me focusing on the thing that I can't control is that is this it's not gonna help me any more than anything else. So it's been I can't say that I got this overnight, but at least today I'm able to be better at it than I used to, and be a lot more grateful for life than I used to be.
Do you find that there are certain traits in people or certain kind of personality attributes that make them more resilient to trauma, pain, difficulties versus the opposite, or you think anybody can do it just through like learned experiences and being trained on like how to approach situations?
I think that anybody can do it. However, um, when people going through other traumas, they probably they're more confronted with much faster than other people, because when you nothing's going on in your life, you take things for granted. You know, that's something I experienced before my vision got the way it was, because even before I got it, I was still legally blind, but I was able to drive and do all these things. But once I lost my peripherals in the way I did, it stopped me on my tracks.
Mm.
And the first year of it, it was really difficult, because I had to the biggest thing wasn't my vision. It was the biggest thing was learning to be dependent on people when I was
Mhm.
so independent. Losing my independency was the biggest issue I had. It's not the physical part, but it's something that I always been pushed myself through. It was a mental part that I had a big struggle with. Understanding that I can't drive anymore. If I want to have some breakfast or something like that, if I can't cook it, I had a DoorDash. So I gotta spend more money on a DoorDash.
Mm.
Or I go food. Gratefully, Wounded Warrior Project helps me with a caregiver, so I can go to my trainings, I can go to my competitions. So I have help for transportation. But before, when I didn't have that, um, it was frustrating, and I had to learn how to like sit back for a second and slow down and be able to address my problems, and not make it not sorry, not have it define me.
Mhm.
And so that was a big process I had to go through. And once I was able to move through that, um, uh, I was able to get where I'm at. Some people don't have that experience, so sometimes it take longer to get to that point. And not, I'm not saying anything bad about those people. It's that when you're not in it, you don't. It's impossible for you to experience it.
Mhm.
So, and unfortunately, humankind, when things happen, or like people say shit hits the fan, it's what makes you react. Sometimes like, oh shit, hold on, this is happening. So people who go through trauma sometimes are able to experience it at a faster pace to people that don't go through those traumas. So it's kind of like, in a way, like a helper hand when it comes to being resiliency. Um, because we get comfortable in our lives sometimes, and we take a lot of things for granted, and we don't realize that what we have in life, our family, our kids, our loved ones, and even ourselves, you know. And so life continues, and we don't realize those things until something really happens to you that makes you stop on your tracks. Like, something happened to me, it really humbled me. Losing my vision, people say that you're weird, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me,
Mm.
because if I didn't lose my vision the way I did, I wouldn't able to appreciate what I have. I wouldn't be able to love the way I love, not only my family, but myself. And so I am grateful for the tragedy of for the trauma and the turmoil, because it helps me grow. Um, and people who, like, my friends of mine who have been to war with me, some of them grow, some of them don't. Unfortunately, human beings deal with things differently. Um, and for those who are able to deal with it in the proper way, go further in life
Yeah.
than others. So,
Yeah, I find that it's an interesting perspective because there's ultimately a duality in pretty much anything that's out there. It's like you can make a claim that everything is a gift and a curse, right? It's like on the one hand, I'm just like driven and successful, and that's definitely a gift, but that could also be a curse. And
uh-huh,
same thing that like something happens and now you're forced to ask for help because you can't do it yourself, and it's
yeah,
like, man, that's a curse, but that's also a gift.
yeah, yeah. Because I remember the day that really hit me was I wanted to eat some cereal one day, and I realized I had no milk,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh, and I remember I tried to look for my keys. Like, hey, wait, I can't drive, and I had a DoorDash some milk. So a gallon of milk that will cost me like $3, it cost me like $8 because, you know, the fees and everything like that. And I was annoyed, but at the same time, I'm stubborn, so I still want to get my milk anyway. um, but it made me realize, you know, I need to plan my day much a lot better. And it helped me. You know, I'm still, you know, due to my head injuries, I had sometimes issues with remembering things, but it helped me be more organized and also ask for help. Say, my wife, hey, ran out of milk on the way from home. Can you pick up a gallon of milk? And not wait until she's home. They may have no milk. You know, I don't want to also put any more burden on her already too. But it helped. I seen that in the middle of chaos, of people who on the word who capitalize on it are able to grow at a much faster rate than other people. Some people, unfortunately, the chaos hit them. They just stay in the chaos. It's like I told somebody one day, it's like I call it the grenade effect. When a grenade hits, it's confusing, it's chaotic. You don't know what's going on, and you can't think straight. And sometimes we're in that constant effect in our lives because we can't like stop for a second and assess what's going on in our lives because everything is so just and we think it's so chaotic, and sometimes it's not that bad as I think it is. It is, and it's something I have to like process and learn the hard way, and but I am grateful for all that process that I have to go through because I wouldn't be the man I am today without all that.
Where do you find purpose?
It's a kind of a loaded question, but it goes a good question. Um, I thought that purpose was like, you know, just the thing that I do and love. Um, but I find purpose just in my wife's smile in the morning when I wake up, or my dogs when are happy and they can spend time with me. I find purpose in the simplest things. Um, I have to learn to do that. I thought that purpose was like me having a career and be financially stable and having all these material things. And my purpose is it's my happiness. It's my sanity. It's the fact that it's my peace. It's something I love. Is that in the mornings, is that quietness of starting my day and enjoying the. I have a routine in the morning. I wake up with my wife. She goes to work, and I make my coffee. Even before I go to class of jiu-jitsu, I take at least 10 minutes, 5 minutes a day. Go outside with my dogs and kind of relax for a second or two and start my day. And that right there, no matter what's going on in my life, that day, that for there is my moment of like finding myself and being grateful. And for me, that's my purpose. Just that fact that I'm able to have peace no matter what's going on in life. For me, peace is priceless. It doesn't matter how much money I have. Well, you know, the people who are billionaires and they're miserable.
Oh yeah, have the same problems as we.
Yeah, yeah. So money is great, and money is amazing, and money is helpful, and money is necessary because without money we can't function today. But it doesn't buy you happiness, and it's something I had to learn really quick. That you know, before I would just work and do all these things to be able to just to have a good life, but then it doesn't matter how much zeros you have in your account if you still want to put a gun to your head at the end of the day. Like, what's the whole purpose of that? So my purpose is loving life. That's something that for me is priceless. It's something that I didn't have before. You know, being a combat veteran and having all these things, I suffer a lot of PTSD and depression. And before I had like really issue with suicidality and suicide attempts because I didn't really appreciate what I had. And I thought that what I was going through defined me, and that was the biggest lie I ever told myself. You know, and go leaving that darkness in my life and finding peace. For me, that's my purpose, just to continue with that peace. That's something that I was able to achieve through jiu-jitsu. Because as you know, jiu-jitsu obligates you to slow down. That's why people make fun of white belts, because they're all spazzy and you know, they're all over the place. But if you realize the higher belt that you achieve, the calmer you get. You know, and that's something that my professor and he's such a role model for me. This man is a 6th-degree black belt, and he's the calmest person I ever met. You know, and that for me is inspiring. That's why I achieve every day is that calmness in life, and that for me is again is priceless. So
It's a great answer. Because the
okay,
reason I ask is I've been kind of lost for a little bit because for the majority of my life I've been running a business. I started a business in 2013, and for the last 10, 11 years, I kind of grew it into a fairly decent thing. And then I just sold it last October.
okay,
Had a few things happen, and it sort of ended up in a situation where I had to kind of make a decision as to which way I was going to go, and basically ended up selling my share. And so I've been sort of contemplating what is it that I want to do and who is it that I am, because my identity was very much tied up into this like thing that I was spending 80, 90, 100 hours a week on. And jiu-jitsu to some people is very similar, I imagine, because when people say jiu-jitsu saved my life, it's like, yes, on the one hand that's absolutely true. On the other hand, you're tying your identity to something that isn't necessarily your life. It's like it's part of your life, but it's not the life, And so
correct.
I'm kind of finding, and maybe it's just men, because men need purpose in work, right? Maybe
Yeah,
women don't have this problem, but I find that it's like for me, since I've basically sold the business and I've been kind of trying to figure out what the hell I want to do for the last 2 months, and it's just like it's hard because that purpose was really tied into this like creative and functional endeavor I was dedicating pretty much all my time to, which is another reason that landed me in jiu-jitsu, because as you're sort of all your eggs are in one basket, all of your other baskets tend to suffer, right? And so
correct.
it's like next thing you know, you find yourself smoking, overweight, in the middle of a potential divorce, and then it's like kids have grown up without you, and then it's like you got this thing that you've built that you think you're very successful in, but like all the other pieces of your life essentially crumbled, and you're like, fuck, I need something to do. And then
Yeah,
that's how I ended up in jiu-jitsu. That's my story.
yeah.
but but I've been kind of searching for this again. Like I find myself in this situation right now where I'm like, man, I don't know what this purpose is.
No, and it's something that I can 100% relate to. Um, Before I started jujitsu, um, people would say, "Well, Eric, you served in the military, you did all these things and your career," but that really didn't fulfill me. It didn't make me whole. You know, yeah, I was proud of my endeavors and my achievements and that, but those are things that I did. That's something that made me who I was, and not until. And I say this because, as I said before, it's correctly say, if I say save my life, it means it made me realize who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because when things are so chaotic and things are going at a fast pace, and when you're working 80 plus hours a week, you don't have time to sit down and just like just to stop for a second, and you can't afford it. You really can't afford it to stop, because if you stop, then you lose money, or you lose clients, or you lose
Mm-hmm.
connections, and unfortunately, life today is created like that. So when we have that blessing to be able to slow down and see, who we really are, a lot of people don't have that opportunity. And when I can say who's Eric? Eric is just a husband, a good man, a man who enjoys life. I'm not Eric the soldier, or Eric the therapist, or Eric the practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just Eric,
Mm-hmm.
and doesn't matter how many letters next to my name. Doesn't really matter, because when we die, you're not taking that shit back to the grave. Um, and I learned how to be more appreciative of time with my loved ones and people who care about me. But before, I wasn't thinking about those things. I was thinking about just having a career and retiring and able to get a house and pay all my debt. That's all.
Yep.
That's all I was focusing on, and I'm saying that I lost that focus, but I have other things that are more important to me.
Yeah.
Which is like my sanity, the peacefulness, all those things that you can't really put a price tag on. So
Yeah, makes sense. And it's also difficult, especially when you're working that job and you're afraid to lose the clients and
yeah,
afraid to lose the business because a lot of that stuff is tied to your reputation. And you're like, who's David? David's the guy that does what he says he does, you know?
correct.
And so if like I check out, I like what happens to my reputation, and then what do
Correct.
people think of me, and I have to live on that reputation because you don't really have much else to sort of
Yeah,
define who you are. And so when you kind of exit, let's say whether it's the military or whether it's the business or whether it's something else, you're like, who am I and what is my reputation based on? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, no, correct. And then people say I don't care what people think of me, but you have to care to a
You
certain
do, of
degree.
course you do.
You have to care to a degree because I don't want people to think that I'm not an honest person. I don't want people to think that I'm not reliable. I don't want people to think I'm not responsible. Do I care if people don't like the way I think? That's something I can't really fix. But I do care about what people think about a person that they can rely on, people that they can trust. Those are values, are things that I care. I do care about. Um, but before, like I said, being in your career, working, your reputation is all you have to be successful. You know, but then it gets to a point in life that you have to move on from that. That it's already established. You already know, people know who you are already. And sometimes we tend to to give more experience. We neglect ourselves because we're so focused on. I told somebody one day, you can't be everything for everybody. You can't do that. That's impossible. Because when you're everything to everybody, then you're nothing for yourself.
Right.
And then that's the biggest downfall of humankind, is that we forget about ourselves. And that's why suicide rate is so high in the United States. That's why obesity is so high in the United States, because we don't love ourselves as much that we should, the way we should. And I'm not saying that being obese is a bad thing, but it's sometimes that happens because we don't care about each other, us, that much. That's why, like, before this, I was street. When I started jiu-jitsu, I was 205.
Hmm.
And before that, my accident, because I wasn't able to do any physical activities because I was having seizures due to my head injury. I was 245,
Hmm.
and you met me. I ain't that tall.
Strong as hell, bro. I can feel that 205, and when you were holding that collar sleeve.
Thank God. But it's that the fact that I wasn't taking care of myself. People forget that um, how can and I'm not religious about it, but the body is your temple. If you don't take care of your temple, then you may not take care of it. How can you think about anything, anybody else, or love anybody else if you don't love yourself first? And that's something I have. That today I'm in front of you, I can say I do love myself and actually mean it. I
Hmm.
can say that I'm happy and actually mean it. Because when people tell you, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm doing okay. You're not gonna sit there and tell your whole life story to some stranger, you know. Um, but now that I'm able to be in a stage in my life that the words that I say have weight, have meaning, it's something that I'm grateful for, that I didn't have before.
Well, I think you can also tell when people are loving themselves because they're put together. They're put together. They're mentally strong. They're physically capable, and they are. It's just a different vibe. It's a different energy because there's plenty of people out there who are kind of running and saying, ego, 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 and business, 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 and it's like they're falling apart on the inside because basically all of that focus is on the material side, and then there's very
Yeah,
little on the other side, and so
yeah,
like they look like they're put together, but they're fucking miserable on the inside.
yeah. Yeah, as a persona you have to put on. You see in the movies, these guys are really successful, and then and they have their day at the office, and when they come back home, they have their bottle of whiskey open and drinking half of it before they go to sleep. Um, it's because they're empty, and they're successful because they have great talents and great skills that made them successful, which is great. It's amazing. A lot of people, it's a few people who ever achieve that, but it's also even fewer people who are able to achieve that and be happy. That's the like
The
the missing
balance.
link. Yeah, and a lot of people, those who achieve that are actually really successful in life. Able to manage, uh, monetary success and then mental success. That's something that's almost unheard of.
Hmm. That's great. That's great. You have a book you can recommend? I usually ask people to recommend the book. I listen to
Actually,
books. I don't
yeah,
even read. I just listen.
yeah. Well, I listen to Dilby. I can't see much of, but but the one last book I did read was it was I should Brief from it's in Gracie. Um I love that book. I recommend it to any practitioners or even non practitioners. Um Brief from Hickson Gracie is a powerful book. Told the whole history of jiu-jitsu, but also his mindset during the process of his of going up in the ranks and until today is really inspiring. And um, a lot of mental game in that book and helps you like to see things a little bit different on a daily basis. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I read that book actually, and I think that a lot of it, what he's talking about, is actually just brute force. I mean, you're literally forcing yourself to go through um, whatever it is that he's going through, and just sort of um, no matter how you feel, just get it done. You know?
Yeah, that's why I like it so much because I identify myself like that. You know, doesn't matter what's going on in my day, injuries. I have numerous injuries due to the service, and I'm every day on the mats competing, no matter what's hurting or not hurting. Um, that's that's I think that's who I was all my life. It's just that I didn't realize that I was that person.
Mm.
And reading that book, I identify myself a lot because I am that person who pushes myself. Anybody who knows me on a personal level knows that I've always put myself no matter what's going on, and it makes me the man that I am today and the husband I am today. So that book is really good. I recommend it.
And God bless, brother. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a great experience, and you're a great guy, and thank you for the invitation.
I'll see you on the mats.
Oh, we definitely was on the match.
Us.
Oh,